I'm your host, Michele Scarlet, and today I am joined with Elizabeth Aylor. I am so excited to have you here today, Elizabeth, because we are going to dive into why weight loss stalls in your 40s. Why, when perimenopause hits, do we end up with that midsection stubborn belly fat, and how the exact process to actually make it come off. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. We got some big things coming, so I'm excited for this episode.
Yes. So for the audience, I just want to give you guys a little bit of context. Elizabeth and I met just maybe a month ago, and I feel like we have become fast friends. We have a very similar health journey, and also both of us are like kind of gym rats in a sense. We both love working out, and the funny thing is, and I'll ask you about your story in a second, Elizabeth.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, both of us being as strict and as strong and as much muscle on our bodies as we could possibly have. And both of us had issues with weight gain at some point that would not come off. So let's dive into your story just a little bit. And I'm sure, I mean, I know it already, but I'm sure it is relatable to every single person listening to this episode.
I love it. Well, I'm going to make it as short and simple as I can, but I struggled my entire life with chronic health issues. I was born with eczema, rosacea all over my face, my body. Gut health wasn't a thing back then. And then when I was 13, I bumped into a girl at school who had lice, and that just threw everything to the next level. I had chronic OCD. I was counting everything. I would not go back to school, and I was put on severe antidepressants. I was homeschooled, and I got myself in a hole. That was the start of my weight gain journey. I ended up getting up to 200 pounds within that year. I would sit, eat my feelings away on top of the medication, and I just felt awful with the eczema, the rosacea, now the weight gain, and I was at my low point. When I did get myself back to school, this was a few years later. My friend was vegetarian. I ended up getting off the medication. I went on this vegetarian diet. I was so out of shape that I couldn't even do a workout class, but I started doing Dance Dance Revolution, and I lost my first 25 pounds, and I started feeling better. The dairy, the gluten coming out, my skin started clearing up. But what I didn't realize is I had deeper health issues going on that were going to impact my like my gut, my hormones, and everything in the long term that I'm going to hit on in a moment. And I kind of took my diet to an extreme. I went from vegetarian. I ended up, just eating a lot of special cakes. I went to a nutritionist. She didn't want to put me on a plan. And I got down to 90 pounds. I developed a severe eating disorder. And then when magazines were a thing, I was around 16 years old right now. When that was in, I said, you know what? I want to build a strong body. So I did start lifting, and I was never able to build that body. I was very dogmatic about my food. I was doing raw vegan when I went to college. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's literally living off of fruits and vegetables. It's 80% carbs, 10% fat, 10% protein. So tons of salads. I would eat like 15 bananas at a meal, blended, 5 mangoes for lunch, you name it. And the reason that I bring this up is after going through, being 200 pounds, getting down to 90, going from vegetarian to vegan to raw vegan to this fruitarian, I woke up one morning and I looked 6 months pregnant before drinking a cup of water. I was now struggling with chronic constipation no matter how many laxatives I took. I went to all the top GI doctors that said having 30 pounds of fluid in your stomach and being distended all the time with no hormones now. Like my period was gone. I was not under eating. I was at 3,000 calories a healthy weight, that was normal. So I bounced around doctor to doctor to doctor, being dismissed, saying there's no such thing as parasites, yeast. It's normal to look this way and have your hormones crashed. While I started my own investigation on my health. I was going to school then for kinesiology, and I was doing every protocol you could think of. I worked with all the top people in the raw food industry. I was soaking, sprouting, fermented. I was doing 150 colonics in a matter of a year with black coming out of myself because I was so toxic. And I came across one doctor, which he did a stool test on me, and that showed my whole start of, getting into what I do nowadays with clients with health issues is I had 15 types of parasites. I had severe H. pylori, which is a gram-negative bacteria which causes stomach ulcers. I had SIBO. I had mast cell activation going on. My hormones were postmenopausal in my 20s, and that was the start of my journey. And I went medical route. I took tons of antibiotics. I destroyed my gut in that making. And then when was spending years going through that medical route, just getting worse and worse and worse, killing all the parasites, rehatching back to square one, still constipation, bloating, no matter how clean I ate, I took it under my own hands and I developed my own 90-day protocol. I completely, restored my gut microbiome. I got my bowels working again, my motility moving. I started rebuilding the right bacteria, got to the biofilms. And in a matter of those 90 days, I went from inflamed, holding tons of water, hormones crash, unable to even get my lean physique while I was a marathon runner to literally shedding weight, six pack abs popping, energy through the roof. I went from a 5:05 marathon to 3:35. This is through healing my gut. And it just shows you that your gut could be that missing link, even if you're not dealing with bloating and everything. If you're a woman 30 plus and you can't lose weight, you need to look at your gut. And it's not add probiotics and look at fiber supplements. It could be a deep underlying thing. And then a few years later, because I'm going to get to the end of the story because I know there's more, I moved to Miami. I ended up going 100% backwards with my health, histamine issues, eyes running, nose, chronic, felt like rheumatoid arthritis through my whole body. I couldn't even like bend down and get my dog's dog food. And that's when I went back and I became a FDM practitioner. And I found out through myself that I had mold toxicity. I was being poisoned by mold. And I healed myself and now I heal clients all around the world with chronic health issues. And when we heal the body, and I think this is why we relate so much, is in order to get to the healthy body weight for my women 40, 50, 60 and beyond, you need the healthy body. And that's not cut calories, adding cardio. And I know we're going to go into all of that, but that is like, we need to drill that into our brain now versus the Ozempics, the calorie cuts, the low carb diets, and overdoing this training and cardio.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for saying that. I think what I really like listening to your story, like I will say, quite extreme from such a young age, right? And I don't know if many women will go, "Oh yeah." Like not as many women as are as introspective to think about it from when they were a little kid. I have a similar story and I'll tell you a little bit about mine as well. But ultimately, the stress in your body, the toxicity in your body that accumulated over years and years and years, that's what was making you exhausted, not able to control a healthy weight. So, whether that was 200 pounds or 90 pounds, not being able to build appropriate amount of muscle mass, not being able to sit really consistently and easily at a healthy body weight, no matter what your age is. Like, if those are the issues, there is something way deeper going on. As soon as somebody comes to me and says, like, I can't, like, I gained 5 pounds over the weekend, I'm immediately like, this isn't a weight issue, even though that woman might think it is.
Yep.
I think about weight gain or weight loss resistance as a symptom, just like everything you just described. If you are not able to maintain a healthy, like body weight for a woman easily, I mean that like, I can't even tell you how easy it actually is to maintain a healthy body weight when your gut health, when your hormones, when your body is able to detoxify, when your body is balanced, your body feels safe enough to let go of fat, to be able to build muscle, to have the energy. Like you said, we have to get it through women's heads that it is not about more cardio, more workouts, less calories, less carbs. It is truly about getting the body back to a functioning state and it will just do it.
Yeah.
Like it will just do
And
it's like that simple. So my story, and I don't know how many people listening to my podcast, I haven't actually told my story very often because I'm usually the interviewer, but I will give you a snippet. So my whole life, um, I was constipated. And I probably didn't know that until I understood later in my 30s, like that constipation was a thing. I always thought that, not going every day or not having a complete bowel movement every day, I thought that was my normal. And then I started taking not laxatives, but like fiber at night, like extra fiber at night, Metamucil. And I would go every morning and I would think that that was fine, but I didn't realize that actually caused some SIBO in me, small intestinal bacteria overgrowth. And then in your 20s, you don't sleep. You're out and you're doing your thing in your 20s, university. Like for me, it was like, boys and fun and all that stuff. And I wasn't thinking necessarily about gut health. I was always very health conscious. Um, then I opened my gym here in Toronto, worked 7 days a week. Now I was this business owner. I was building something. I had this future. There was a whole nother piece of stress. Um, and then when I was 33, I ended a 6-year relationship. And it was like we owned a home together. We had animals together. It was a very toxic relationship. And I think that was also part of the equation for me. And when I left that relationship, my body shut down. It was like, oh, it's too much now. I had accumulated so many toxins, so much stress, and I wasn't taking care of the internal body. I was working out 6 days a week. I was eating as minimal as possible. I see people all the time in our space, Elizabeth,
yeah.
eat for volume and low calories, like eat as much as you possibly can with as little calories as possible. And I'm like,
Yeah.
are we forgetting that food actually nourishes our body? Right? Anyway, I was doing that. I would eat the salads that were like huge, but they had things like zucchini and cucumbers and onion and, no fruit. Anyway, and I started packing on the pounds. It was like 25 pounds in 3 months, still working out. I was exhausted. I wasn't sleeping. I was anxious. I was so bloated. I was so constipated. And I had no idea what was going on to the point where I would Google at 3 in the morning, like, why do I feel so awful for somebody who eats so clean? And then when I realized that my health was so much more than diet and exercise, so much more than calories in and calories out, and I stopped actually focusing on my weight and I focused on my gut health, I lost 12 pounds in 4 weeks. Like it was just that simple. Like your body goes, oh, okay, she's paying attention now. Right. And I think the key for me in my program with the women that I work with is we need to let go of this weight. Let it be this beautiful, far more effortless side effect of getting your body healthy than getting on the scale every day and like why hasn't it dropped a half a pound and why hasn't like let's get off of this scale. What do you think about that?
No, I love that because I love saying this when women come to me. Like instead of we all want fat loss, especially with
Sure.
Ozempic, peptides, all of that out there. So we think fast fix. But you want to ask yourself this. If you're going for fat loss, ask yourself how your energy is. Ask yourself how's your cravings? Are you bloated by the end of the day? How is your libido? Because if you have all of these things going on, it is not about a crash diet fat loss because you're going to do something that is going to be unsustainable. And if you don't see yourself following it, 5 years from now, your results are not going to be sustainable. And if you have the bloating, the constipation, the thyroid issues, the inflammation, feeling like your body's swollen and no libido, losing the weight is not going to fix those issues. But if we get to the root cause and we focus on those, then I have clients lose 5 to 40 pounds, eating up to 1,000 calories more a day, saying, oh my God, my metabolism's back. I'm off the antidepressants. And the focus goes off of the scale. And all of a sudden, they're seeing all these micro wins every single week. And then the body transformation is the product that
Yes.
comes at the end. And it's amazing because it's like someone's health and just their health transformed. But when they see their body go with it, it's like, I even see women come to me late 50s now have such a healthy relationship with their food and their body after years of just yo-yo diets and extremes and no confidence because they now understand their body and they're understanding the science and why the scale goes up and why they need the carbs and how to structure it for blood sugar and why they were crashing with energy, and it's not about discipline.
Yes. Oh my God, it's not about discipline. I can
Mm.
bet that every single woman listening to this podcast is not somebody who has a discipline problem or a
No.
willpower problem. They are like, what the hell is going on with my body? It's not reacting the way it ever did. And I don't know how to get it back. And they are searching for solutions. They are like, I just want to feel good in my body again. And I love that you brought up some of the like really easy symptoms to kind of assess where your metabolism is. I always say these 3. Are you hungry? Are you happy? And are you horny?
I
And
love the
it's
last.
right? It's funny, but those are the first things that go. When you are having major cortisol dysfunction, high or low, hunger goes out the window. Your body's your entire body is full of feedback loops. Everything is feeding another system all the time. If your stress signals are off, your hunger signals are going to be off. So if you're somebody who just keeps saying to me, "Oh, I'm not hungry in the morning. I'm not hungry in the morning." Well, something's wrong if you're not hungry in the if you've just fasted for 12 hours overnight and you're not hungry in the morning, something's up. If you're not happy, and I mean genuinely happy, you don't have to be happy about work and you don't have to be a happy, in your relationship. I mean, are you generally happy? Like just a happy human being? Or are you somebody like Eeyore, with that dark cloud that's always that's how I imagine it. Because that's
I
how it
love
felt for
your.
me. That's how it felt for me when I was not happy. It just felt like this dark cloud followed me everywhere. I was not on antidepressants. My doctor wanted to put me on them and I was like, I'm not depressed. Something is wrong." And we know that there is a major connection between our brain and our mental health and our gut health. And so if you are not genuinely happy, throughout your day, something is wrong. And then the libido. I have women who excuse this. Well, I'm 60. Why do I need a libido? And in my head I'm like, "Oh my god, I've only been married 5 years. I hope that my husband and I are having a great sex life long into our 60s, 70s and 80s. Like why do we not want it is pure pleasure, and it is a part of our physiology and a really great signal as to what's going on with our overall metabolism if we are not if there's a part of us that doesn't want that ever. So I'm glad you brought that up. And I also that's something that I ask all my clients monthly. Like, okay, yes, has the scale dropped the 6 pounds this month that you expected it to, some arbitrary number? Maybe it didn't. But how are you sleeping? Do you wake up energized? Is your period not painful?
That's key one.
Right?
Especially when you have the PCOS and the endometriosis, it's like I have clients within the first month go from bedridden with chronic pain to it through just diet and lifestyle changes. Now, with their endometriosis, they're at the gym full of energy, no painful period. So it's like your nutrition, your stress, all of those come together.
Yes, 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 100%. I talk about their bowel movements. If somebody says to me, "No, I'm constipated or I'm not having complete bowel movements," something is wrong. And we always for us, we call them the core steps, and we go right back into core step number 1. Let's look at your nutrition. Let's create a diary. What are you eating every day? Is there something we're missing? Is there a gap that we aren't hitting or we aren't filling? Let's fill that gap. Let's nail your nutrition. And you know what? I gotta say, we see a lot of marketing out there, you and me both in the weight loss, fitness, wellness space about these quick fixes. And you can do this and I don't know. I don't even know what there might be a promise out there that's ridiculous. And of course it catches women's eyes because we do want these quick fixes. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it here and say that you can just do whatever you want whenever you want and gorge on pizza and cookies and chips and baked goods and like there's a time and a place for these things because life is about balance and of course. But if you don't fuel your body, you're not getting there. Like, period, end of. And I don't know if you claim that you can just eat whatever and never think about it, but if you want to feel good and have longevity and optimized health and a body that you are not only proud of, but feel freaking good in, then you need to eat for it. That's it.
Yeah. And I would love if we can kind of go back to the depression for a moment because I
Yeah,
would
yeah.
love to hit on because the amount of women that come to me that they're dismissed by the doctors with the labs and then they're just told the aging, but then a lot of them are just say take this antidepressant and they're like, "Well, I'm not depressed." And one big thing cuz we're talking about the gut and weight loss is that it's not about what you're eating, it's about what you're absorbing. As we get
Mm.
older, if we're going through chronic stress or we have the dysbiosis, that lowers your stomach acid. So you could be following the eat more protein, but are you breaking it down? Because when you break down the protein with our HCl, the hydrochloric acid, that's what's all the little building blocks. So you know all those little neurotransmitters in the brain to make you happy. If you're not breaking down your protein and being able to utilize these things, that could lead to the depression. That could lead to, you not seeing the body composition changes that you want. So it really does all come back to the gut at the same time with that depression, that anxiety, because your gut is that house. It's not what you eat, it's what you are truly absorbing.
Yes, 100%. And you know what? I just thought of something. This can shift. When you were saying if the diet you go on, if you can't see yourself eating it, doing it for the next 5 years and forever, then it's not going to be the one that's sustainable. So, what I really love about what you and I do is that we are, trying to get away from the scale, right? Ultimately, um, but we are teaching women to get more in tune with their body, recognize that things like bloating, constipation, depression, anxiety, acne, periods, horniness, all the things we just talked about. Um, we are getting them to understand almost a new story around their bodies. And when something happens in their life down the line, because something's always going to happen, maybe
Yeah.
somebody gets laid off at work and now there's a major financial struggle, or maybe there's a death in the family, or maybe your kid is really struggling in school or with their mental health, and it's weighing a lot on you, and you then start to experience symptoms again. You've healed, and then, oh my goodness, something's going on again, just like you moving to Miami,
Yeah.
right? This is not a short term commitment. This is a commitment to your life. For me, I, healed my body. Then I got pregnant, had my first son, healed my body again because pregnancy alone is insane on the body. Postpartum is insane on the body. Then I got pregnant with twins. Let's just double that, right? And now I'm currently postpartum with twins, and it is and I have accepted it in a very peaceful way, that like, oh good, I get to work on my body again. I get to I get to deep dive and to see what's going on, and to your point about absorption, okay, to your point about absorption, it literally starts with sitting down and chewing your food. I am somebody who can say, I eat a lot of my meals standing up right now in my life. And every time that I do, I'm like, oh man, let's just like, I'm not doing so hot right now. I've got a 3-year-old running around who can't sit at the table. I've got twins yelling at me. And what's funny is that my husband and I were like, okay, we got to get back to the basics. Michele, you go eat in the other room, sit down, take 15 minutes, and then we'll switch. So, no, we're not eating as a family right now, but we are both doing something good for our guts by actually chewing and swallowing and eating in a relaxed state so our body has the ability to absorb.
That is so huge. That's like the first step. It's when I first hop on a call with a client, say we're starting our program. It's not we dive like 2 seconds right into the food. It's the food eating practices because everyone's busy, everybody's running around, everybody's on their phone working, and all of that just shuts all of the blood away from digestion to the external extremities. And no wonder you're bloated. No wonder you feel like you're reacting to foods. No wonder you are struggling to even go to the bathroom. So it's exactly. I love that you guys do the alternating. I do 4-6 breathing sometimes before my meals to like a 3-minute timer because if you're going from, a rush something or a work meeting or something and you just feel like stressed, doing 3 minutes of just breathing in for 4, breathing out for 6, it calms the nervous system and brings you to that state.
Yes. It's oh my gosh, I can't even it feels so simple that I think a lot of women dismiss it, but I will tell you that I just ran a GI map on myself. I got it back about 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "Okay, I can't do a lot of detox right now as I'm breastfeeding, which is fine, but what I can do is work on coaching up the terrain in my gut. Okay, what is the first thing that I'm gonna do?" So it's been 2 weeks that my husband and I have been able to alternate and sit down and eat, and I feel 100% better.
Yeah.
Like, I
Without
this
killing anything too.
without
It's like,
yes.
and that's big because women think, I feel like, because me and you are FDNs, so we do test our clients. We see where hormones are at, stool tests are at. But so many people go to individuals that don't address the diet, the nutrition. They just think you have parasites, H. pylori, SIBO, kill, kill, kill. So you're not going to the bathroom, you're not sleeping, you're in this chronic state of just stress, and now you're going to throw all these herbs in that are going to create more stress and break your body down more. And what happens is your gut is going to get worse. You're going to become more reactive to foods. All of your candida is going to get even more because now you're killing the good and the bad
Mhm.
instead of restoring. So your gut gets worse through these kills. And so many women get stuck with gut issues of doing test, kill. Oh, it's worse. Test, kill. And then that's when they come to us and they're like, well, I'm not pooping. I've done spent thousands of dollars on all these things, went to all the practitioners to just be a supplement cabinet.
Oh
And
my
down to
gosh.
yeah, I'm like, send me a picture of your supplement cabinet. Let's see what we could utilize and minimize.
Do the exact same thing. I do the exact same thing. I'm like, I don't want you to buy more supplements. Like, supplements are 20% of this equation. The rest is gonna be what you do every single day. Something that I really want my husband does not listen to my podcast unless I tell him to, but something that I wanna say is I am so deeply grateful for his support in me doing all of the lifestyle pieces. So something that I see almost every single day with the women that I work with is their partner, not that they're not supportive. Not a single woman would say their husband or partner is not supportive,
Yeah.
but it creeps in a little bit when the partner complains that the wife, like the woman, goes to bed earlier than they used to, or, she's taking more time to go to the gym, or she's cutting out gluten, and that's a problem for the family as a whole. And so I just have to say that I have had to, my husband, again, like my husband he's a personal trainer, he's a firefighter, he's healthy, but not to the same extent that I expect for myself. And so I am so thrilled that all I've had to do is say, his name's Riley. I'm gonna shout him out here. I don't he doesn't listen, so it's fine. Um, he is the most supportive human being, and all I've had to do is say, "Riley, I need to be in bed by 8:30 every night. If I'm getting up at 6 with 3 babies, I need to be getting 8 hours of sleep, like, without interruption, consistently. I don't care that it's summertime and the sun doesn't set till 9:30. I am going to bed and the sun is still up because my body deserves the attention that it needs right now. No, I'm not fun. I am boring. That sucks. But you know what? One day, I might stay up till 10 o'clock to watch a movie with my husband, and that's fine, and he totally understands. When it comes to the gluten piece, my household is now a gluten-free household because he sees the benefits of it. He is not fully gluten-free and my children are not fully gluten-free. However, in this house they are because it causes inflammation. And to my point, what hill are we going to die on? I don't need to eat gluten. There are lots of gluten-free options that are perfectly good, and I know that when I give my kids a sandwich, that their body is not gonna reject it at 3 years old and start, like you had, a cascade effect of health issues by the time you were 13. Like, what hill are we dying on? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And it's getting worse and worse and worse now because we have to look at it like so many people are like, well, I didn't do a lot of antibiotics. But you know what? How is your mom's gut health? How it's like generation by generation, things are passed down. Were you a C section? Like, there is so much down my back line that of the OCD, of the gut issues. And even to throw this out there is a lot of women, because I hear this, they say, "Oh, your diet is so clean, like you're so limited, you're so restricted." I'm not a restricted diet person, but my whole point with this is you don't know what it feels like to feel good until you figure out what works with your body.
Mhm.
So you may be eating all the dairy and all the having your alcohol and everything and feel, but once you make some tweaks and some changes and your energy's up and you're able to realize, you know what? I thought that made me feel good, but it makes me feel so bad. And you don't even want it anymore. And you find so many other different healthy alternatives that you love even more that make you feel amazing because there's so much out there. So it's like that's my key right there is you don't know what it feels like to feel good until you make some changes and you tweak things. And it's not about setting restriction of I can never have gluten again. I can never have dairy. It's let's actually keep it as a hey, I can have this once in a while, but because your inflammation is down so much less, you're less likely to react to it and you're having because you're not overflowing your inflammatory bucket over here. And I think that's huge because I've had clients with like chronic gut pain and crippling to that point where in 12 weeks we gotten so much inflammation down that they can go out to dinner and have gluten and it's not killing them now, that it's like, oh my god, I survived. I feel fine. My stomach's not in pain because my body can tolerate, and we've rebuilt back so much vitality in their gut and resilience.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes. So much. This is what I call body freedom. That's what this podcast is named after. Exactly that point. It is a point where your body is in such optimal condition that you can enjoy that pizza or that birthday cake with your kid or, the drink, excuse me, with your girlfriends and it not destroy your next day or it not put the scale up 5 pounds overnight, and like living in body freedom. I am a pure example of body freedom. And I will assume you are, and you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But like when my husband wants a pizza night once in a while, I'm like, babe, let's do it. Because you know what? I know how to feed my body the rest of the week, and there be literally no issue. The issue becomes when we are so unaware of ourselves that we are just dumping toxins and inflammatory foods into this bucket, like you said. I refer to that bucket all the time. And I think Dr. Stephen Cabral was the person who wrote the book, The Rain Barrel Effect. And this is literally like you just dumping junk into your body. And it doesn't always mean food. You could be a clean eater, but it could be the makeup you use or the moisturizer you use or the cleaning products you use that is overflowing your bucket. And now you react. And now you can't lose weight. And now you're bloated. And now you're constipated or depressed. Like we keep coming back to this. It doesn't need to be forever, but you do need to become conscious of what you're doing so you can make choices. You have so much freedom and you don't need to say, I can't have. You get to say, I don't want, right?
Yeah. And I think though that's where it becomes so overwhelming for women though, because it's like you're a busy mom, you're CEO, you're running all this stuff, you don't feel good, you're dismissed by the doctors, but then you can look at your products. Is it my stress? Is it my hormones? What am I missing? And I think that's why, you know, it's good to find someone to help you on your health journey, because when you have all of this in your head, it makes your stress worse. And then you're like throwing darts at the dartboard, hoping that something sticks, spending hundreds of dollars on supplements and tests and all these things and getting nowhere. So it's so many women that come to me, it's they give to their children, their family, their career, but they never give to themselves.
Mhm.
And I think it's very important to choose your health and to find somebody that can pull the pieces together, because it's like when I work with a client, it's we hit on all of it. We create the plan to fit their lifestyle and get them all the tools so that the mind's not going. They know what to do for them. And if life comes up, because it does, they have the tools in the toolbox where they can make it sustainable. And that gives them the freedom back. But so many women are afraid to invest in their health because everything has failed them. They haven't found the right person. And because they're so used to giving to everybody that they never fill their bucket first. And you have to fill your bucket to be the best version for everyone else. And even as you brought up your husband, it's like sometimes the spouses aren't on the board in the beginning, but I mean, a few months in, when their woman is feeling sexy AF and they're over here like, damn, grabbing their butt because their butt's pumping and they're buying the new clothes and they're feeling confident, they got energy back. It's like then the men are on board
Yeah. Yeah, and why
for the
wouldn't you
spouse.
be? Why wouldn't you be as your husband? Like, if you married a decent human, right? He's
Yeah.
gonna be like, "Holy shit, my wife looks so good," And I remember my husband said to me after I told you that first 4 weeks of looking at my gut and stopping the obsession with the scale, he looked at me and he goes, after 15 years of knowing me, and he goes, "I've never seen you look so vibrant." And I'm like, 4 weeks. It's all it took for another person to notice. Like 4 weeks. So, something that I want to touch on that you just said,
Yeah.
women don't invest in themselves. Let's talk about this investment. So, for the people listening to this on in your camp and in mine, it is an investment. It's an energy investment. It's a financial investment. It is a mental investment. It is an emotional investment. There are things that you need to do. This is not going to be just like a let's throw you a meal plan, throw you a workout plan, and you go do this thing. No, this is a deep dive into your health. And if you want decades long results, then you have to invest in all of those areas. And it's not even about the investment that I want to talk about, it's the cost of not investing. When you are like you said, a busy mom, a CEO, you're giving your energy to your kids, you're giving your time to your career, you're putting all of your efforts and your finances and your mental and emotional, all the things that I said you need to invest into every other bucket except for yours. When your health declines, this is what it looks like. You have no energy. Literally, clients of mine who tell me these stories, like these are not for me to scare, and I haven't like exaggerated that. I have a client currently who works all week and on the weekends is exhausted and doesn't want to go to their kids' soccer games because the thought of leaving their bed early morning is like absolutely not. Like, okay, so you're missing all your kids' games. Okay, cool. I mean the low libido piece, right? That's I'm not saying you're having sex with your husband for your husband, but like it's part of marriage. And I'm sorry if that's controversial. I don't mean like, you know what I mean. It's a loving relationship. Both of you should want it. you know, if you said to your husband, I don't feel wanted, you would expect him to help you understand that. And I feel like that is vice versa. So I'm not trying to be rude about the libido piece, but it can affect marriage. And I'm sure most women don't want that. I sure as hell don't want my marriage affected by something like that. Let's talk about the other cost. Grandkids. Do you want to be around for your grandkids? I'm an old mom, okay? I have young babies. By the time they are 40, I will be 80, okay? I better be around for my grandkids. My mother-in-law, father-in-law, and mother, who are all around for my kids, they all wrestle my kids. They roll around in the grass with them. They chase them in the backyard. Is that not something that's important to people these days, right? Or are we going to be the generation that sits on the couch, puts on the TV, scrolls our phone while our kids do whatever because we don't have the energy to invest in our families, right? For those who don't want families, I had never wanted a family. I have been a career woman my entire life, and I still am. If I didn't invest in my health, my business would not be where it is today. And I mean, there was a time in the thick of my health issues where answering a client email felt like the biggest chore. Like, I'm telling you, when I would look at it, I would have to draw energy up to figure out what I needed to write back, even if it was a simple answer. That's not a business, you know? Over the last 5 years, I have been able to invest in coaches. I have been able to invest in assistants. I have been able to drive ideas forward because my body allowed me the capacity to get creative, the energy to execute, and the confidence to keep moving forward when there was rejection. So, what is the cost of not investing? Because for me, that's not okay.
I hear these all the time. I even had um, another one speaking to like the career driven woman client of mine. She was so exhausted that she's like, I couldn't even answer an email. Everything I had to do was through Chat GPT. She said, do you know how wonderful it feels to, in just a matter of a few weeks, have no brain fog and have the energy and the mental capacity to actually answer an email without having to utilize AI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And even like with the moms out there, it gets to that point where inability to manage the stress. So you almost feel like you're going to snap at your kids because you're just so all over the place and you don't know what's going on. And that impacts your life.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, we've touched on quite a bit of symptoms and like lots of stories. And for the women listening to this, you don't have to experience all of these or none of these to determine whether or not you need to look a little bit deeper into your health. It could be just a couple. For a number of years, the 50 symptoms that I was able to list that I was living with daily, I very easily gaslit myself into thinking they weren't connected. I very easily were able to excuse a lot of it based on, like, oh, did I just eat too much fiber? Oh, did I just not get a good night's sleep? Oh, it's very easy for our brains to kind of trick us into saying nothing's going on. I don't even want to say nothing's wrong, but just like, it's very easy to be like, "Oh, well, that's not me. Well, that's not my story." But if we were to really think about it and quantify, do you actually feel as good as you want to? And I think that we can just like simplify it with that one question. Do you feel as good as you want to? And I don't mean as good as you should for your age,
Yeah.
and I don't mean as good as you should for being in perimenopause or postmenopause. I mean, do you feel as good as you want to? And if the answer is no, then I can guarantee that somebody like Elizabeth or I would find something in your GI map, in your hormone panel, in your detoxification markers that could actually improve your health if you committed to the process and invested in your health.
Your quality of life.
Big time.
I
Big
think
time.
that's a huge aspect. And it's even like we said in the very beginning, this could all tie to I cannot lose stubborn weight or the weight is just coming on. And I feel like the most basic three things that I see in every woman hopping on, because before we go into our deep dive and then we start talking and then they realize they have 50,000 symptoms going on, it's I cannot lose weight. I am dealing with fatigue and end of the day, I feel bloated, even if I'm eating clean. And I think those are like three kind of triggers over here that I see in at least 90% of the women that come to me.
Yeah. Me as well. Me absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I want to touch on is the big piece is the nervous system. It's the hardest piece. I would say that it's the hardest piece for me as well. And then we touched on it a little bit right before we eat, like some box breathing, the 4 in, 6 out. Sitting down with no distractions can help. But not just around eating. What are we doing day to day to check in with our nervous system and check in with the stories that we tell ourselves and the triggers we have around food, around body image? Are we doing the work to change the neural pathways to let us believe that we can actually feel better. Because there's a lot to do within our brain when we start to feel, when we see women who have probably joined multiple programs over their life, diet, yo yo dieting, diet and exercise, that kind of thing, and they always feel like they've failed. So when I get on calls with potential clients, oftentimes they're skeptical, like, will this work for me? Right?
Yes.
Because they have a story in their head that they've tried 100 things. So, like, why is this any different, right? That story is actually the resistance is your nervous system keeping you safe from trying something different because the body likes familiar, even if it's considered failure or scary or negative. The body wants to keep you safe into something that you know, and dipping your toe into something that's different and letting go of this idea of calories in and calories out and focusing on other pieces of your health is scary. And the nervous system is going to do all it can. It's going to give you every excuse to not go forward. It's going to tell you it's not going to work. It's going to tell you that you should have all the freedom in the world to eat whatever you want whenever you want, and it should never be about discipline. And I'm a big believer that discipline is self-love, okay? So I have reframed that in my head comparatively to the body positivity movement. No discipline is not self-respect. I'm sorry. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I believe that it is. Um, but the nervous system plays a huge role in how deep you are willing to go. Are you going to surrender to this process? What if Elizabeth and I could zoom out and in 5 years from now, you had your dream body. You never thought about what you needed to eat or what you couldn't eat or what you didn't want to eat. You could go and live your life free of this piece that was constantly, probably for 30 years, living rent free in your head. What am I going to eat later? If I go to a social function, am I going to have something that I can eat? What if I gain 5 pounds over the weekend? What if my clothes don't fit? Oh my God, whatever the stories are, we have to surrender to it. And something that I've brought into my practice recently is NLP, neuro linguistic patterns. Is it patterns?
I think so. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't actually do it. I've enlisted an NLP therapist to come in and start helping clients understand their own neural pathways and what are the stories we're telling ourselves around carbs? What are the stories we're telling ourselves about eating more than 1,200 calories a day or, the scale every single day? Or what's trying to keep us safe because we're scared to actually do something good for ourselves? And I think that's just a really important piece to remember that it is very simple as you and I talk about it. We've lived it. It isn't that easy and it is a process. And I really encourage women, if you want that body freedom, if you want to feel amazing, like really you want it deep down in your bones because you deserve it, you have to trust the process.
You do, 100%. And it comes down to, too, it's like we create these habits and negative self-talk and everything for 40, 50 years in our brain. And then we expect for overnight them to just disappear and we have to retrain it. And we were talking about this one day is, talking about just listing out your daily wins for the day. It could be something so small to create a new habit because the more that you do something like that, the more that we're able to overcome the old habit of the negative self talk, of the failure, and transfer that to, okay, I did this positive thing. I love this about me. Oh my God, I had this amazing win. The scale didn't move, but you know what? I hit a PR in the gym and I'm stronger than ever and I'm squatting 100 pounds today. And it could be so small, but those things are going to add up over time because the mind, the body, they go together. I put that off for so long and was a huge part that actually held me back on my gut healing journey until I read the book, The Mind Body Connection. You can know everything, but stress does not sound sexy, so we do not want to address it. And then we associate it with having to sit down and meditate and journal. And we don't, speaking for myself, I cannot sit still. Like I have that brain, that go, go, go entrepreneur Virgo over here. And I know a lot of my clients too. They're like, I'm busy. I don't have time to just add in all these extra things into my routine. So it's finding that one thing that helps. For me, it's my wins and it's acupuncture. So it's finding one or two things that really make the difference. And it really is about reestablishing those habits and those rewiring your mind that, you know what, not a negative. Let's shift that to the positive, but knowing that that's not going to shift through 3 days of affirmations when you've been doing it for over 50 years.
Yes. My goodness. But you know what also? I think the expectation when you do go into the mindset piece, expect that you're going to slip back.
Oh,
Expect
yeah.
like daily, you're going to slip back. I've been doing this now probably 7 years, the mindset work, and I slip every so often. Of course we do. Can we give ourselves the grace to go, "Oh, well, I slipped again." Okay. We're not freaking perfect, and we're not supposed to be on this planet to be perfect, right? And this idea, I get it a lot when I do my check-ins with my clients. "Oh, like I fell off the plan or whatever. I fell off track. I'm going to get back on track." Like, no. We don't need to there's no track. Okay? This is life. And the more we say those things, the more we have to reframe them. And I will often reframe them as like, okay, you didn't fall off track. We just have an opportunity to choose better now. That's it, right? I always equate it to working out. You cannot lift 100 pounds. You cannot squat 100 pounds until you can squat your body weight. So, why do we have that expectation? It takes time to build the muscle, to build the strength. You have to do repetition after repetition. It might take 2 years for you to hit 100 pounds in a back squat, right? So, why do we have this expectation that with our mind, we're just going to like ignore the emotional trauma of somebody telling you not to eat ice cream when you were 7 because it was going to make you fat, right? And now every time you see ice cream, it's like a massive trigger and it's the thing you go to when stress hits the fan. You know what I mean? Like why do we think that's going to be erased after 40 years, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And
go ahead.
oh, that's brought something up in my mind because I was talking to my mom about this the other day. And sometimes we have to have the slip ups because if you look at like a slip up, like, oh my God, I went and I overate a ton at dinner and you think you failed. But no, what we need to do is we need to look at that as an opportunity for growth. What happened? Did I fast throughout the day and withhold meals? Because it's actually a learning experience for us so that we can say, okay, well, what can I do so that this doesn't happen? And it gives us a different outlook on it. So instead of saying, I failed, I need to restrict food, I gained all this weight, I need to go back, I try to talk to my clients, okay, well, what happened? Did we skip the meals? Was our blood sugar low? Were we stressed out that day? Like, what happened to lead that there and get a game plan together? And we learn from that and we grow from that versus failing from it, restricting from it, and being in this vicious cycle of, back and forth.
100%. 100%. It's not about failure. It's just life. It's a journey. And it doesn't need to be more than that or make it more than that. We didn't succeed because we lost 5 pounds, but we didn't fail because we gained it either. You know, when we put the context around that so black and white, we are putting back the negative. I can't eat that. I can't do that. And then, we get into this, like you said, restrict and binge and restrict and binge and up and down all the time. We have to stop thinking in black and white because it's not black and white.
I 100% agree with you.
So I feel like we could go on forever. And so good news to
Yeah.
the audience, Elizabeth and we're gonna create something where we can come together more frequently. Maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's to answer questions, maybe it's to just get live in front of people, maybe it's like to just spread the word that calories in and calories out just doesn't work the way you think it's going to for long-term health. But what I want to say is if you are questioning whether or not you should investigate further, if you should deep dive into your health and say, you know what, I'm going to spend the next 4 months, 6 months, year just doing me, then I highly encourage you to call up Elizabeth, call up myself, find a practitioner that you jive with, find somebody who you know is going to guide you down the right path, not just a parasite cleanse, not just, whatever, a candida cleanse, the whole thing. If you want the whole transformation, you got to do the whole thing. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I
Can you,
really appreciate it. I love doing this stuff.
yeah, tell everybody where they can find you so that they can go follow you.
Absolutely. So I am Elizabeth Aylor, not Taylor, fitness on every social media platform. So Instagram, I have tons of workouts. I'm in my stories, share so many tips, but YouTube is where it's at. And if you have any questions for me, you could just send me over a DM right on Instagram. Tell me, found us on the podcast, and I don't got a DM setter. So it's me that you're talking to.
Amazing. Me as well. I will make sure all that's in the show notes. And when we hit stop here, I have such an amazing thought for us. And so,
I
coming
love it.
soon, everybody in the audience, look out for Elizabeth Aylor and Michele Scarlet. Bye.